Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Stargirl, and this is going to be my review for episode 11 for this season, the third last episode, otherwise entitled Shining Knight. But of course, if you've not watched the episode, best to go away because we're going to be talking about everything in this episode, all the spoilers, so go away if you've not watched it. But of course, if you have watched the episode and you are continuing on with this video, let me know all your thoughts, theories, opinions on this episode in the comments section down below. Intrigued to see what you guys have to say. I'm always curious to get your opinions. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and you're just enjoying this Stargirl content, you just enjoyed this episode of Stargirl in general, would be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support for the channel as well as the Stargirl stuff. But of course, last episode was the big Brainwave Jr. episode where, well, R.I.P. Brainwave Jr. was killed by his own father, or at least we're led to believe that. But this episode, I wouldn't say doubles down on it, but definitely supports the argument that he actually is dead. But yeah, we saw Henry Jr. get hashtag crushed by some bricks or lots of rock. So yeah, but of course we had Barbara learning about all the Stargirl stuff and what's happening with Pat, and also setting up Courtney's father through some emails. And that all comes to a head in this episode. But obviously the episode is called Shining Knight, so you'd expect some Shining Knight stuff. And that's how we start off the episode with Janitor Justin, aka Sir Justin, aka Shining Knight, near this field just gazing at all these horses. And he's asking this farmer for a gallant white steed. And the farmer's like, hey, just seriously, get away. Well, what are you doing? I've told you to stay away from my horses. But he is looking for his winged victory from the comics, which is a gallant white steed. Now we can see him struggling to remember things. Now in this series in general, he's just been lost. That's probably the best way to be to word it. But he is being reminded of certain things. So he's like reminded of the cosmic staff when the windmill sort of shines on him. He's reminded of Stripesy with the American flag because of the red and white stripes. So things trigger memories for him that they're just like trigger points, which could play out more as we go along. We do see some of that in this episode as well. But yeah, we're just seeing those different triggering points, but he's just lost. I think that's probably the best way to put it. But obviously another big thing in this episode was Courtney's father, Sam Curtis, rolls on into town, into Blue Valley to the NXS song of Pretty Vegas. That's an Australian brand. How good? Australian band. How good is that? Even though it was post Michael Hutchins, so it wasn't fully Australian because they had a weird singer. Anyway, there's me detailing the song again, which I know people either love or hate. But as I was saying, last episode, like Barbara was dealing with just the revelation that her daughter was a superhero, but now she's dealing with the reality of just the entire situation going on in Blue Valley, the town that she grew up with, which is now the hub or the HQ of the Injustice Society. And she's not willing to just leave Pat in the town by himself. But due to her wanting to stay, they have to go about their lives as normal as possible. They have to follow the normal schedule, stay in sync, not do anything out of the ordinary, which I think is easier said than done. I think it's much easier said than done because when you know you have to follow something, sometimes you can step out of line, you just seem a bit weird. But speaking of weird, we did have Courtney meeting her father. It was a bit awkward, especially for Barbara. Like, Barbara's face definitely just screamed, this is awkward. But for Courtney, it was mainly hard and just difficult just to take for her. And just believe in general that this guy here is her father. She's just in denial, still the whole Starman thing. And this is until Sam shows her the matching locket to hers that we have seen throughout the show since episode 1. At that point, she's sort of like, well, this can't, like, I have to sort of go along with this. And then Barbara's reassuring her, sorry, like, yeah, that is your father, but sorry you had to learn like this, but yeah, that's your dad. But obviously with all this just happening all of a sudden and being so dramatic, Mike still feels he's being left in the dark, which he is. Throughout the entire season, we've just seen this happen with him, and he's been noticing weird things. And it's making him quite emotional because he's like, well, what the hell did I do? Like, I'm getting yelled at, didn't do anything. Everything else just going on around me. I feel like I'm in some weird Twilight Zone thing. Like, what's going on? And you have to feel it's going to come to a head by the end of the season, whether Mike finds out on his own or they tell him. And the longer it goes on without them telling him, it makes me think he's going to find out on his own, whether he finds Stargirl's suit, finds the cosmic staff, finds Stripe in Pat's workshop or something along those lines. I have a feeling it's going to end up like that. Like, he's going to be the one that finds out who Courtney actually is and what's going on with his dad, who his father actually is. They should tell him, but I don't think they're going to. But coming back to Sam, we have his story about like why he's in Blue Valley and he's here, he wants to get to know his daughter before it's potentially too late to do so, which I think most of us could have seen through. It was like, that doesn't seem 100% true because you've just shown up out of the blue, and just even the way that the show's presented you so far, you seem a bit dodgy, but we'll come back to that in a second. But But let's go back to Justin for a bit. So Justin is the namesake of the episode with Shining Knight. In his little quarters, if you want to call it, in the school, little janitor quarters, he actually sees himself as one of Dragon King's drones in the mirror. Now, this makes you believe that he maybe went through part of the process that they went through, and that's maybe why he's suffering with regaining memories and just being lost in general. At least the memories being withheld, and things have to trigger those memories now, which is hinted at in something we'll go over in a second. But that was like the first instance of, okay, well, why is he seeing himself as a drone? It'll be interesting to see if he actually was a drone for a bit, but we might have to wait a bit because I don't think that gets fully revealed in this episode. But yeah, we do get Justin going to the pit stop to Pat's workplace, and we actually see him face off against Pat, Rick, and Beth because he actually sees them as Dragon King and two of his drones. It's like another memory sort of getting, flickered into his brain. Now, Pat doesn't recognize Justin at first, but it doesn't take him too long to figure out that it actually is Sir Justin the Shining Knight, his former teammate of the Seven Soldiers of Victory. But it was interesting to see Justin just break down and pleading for Pat's help. This just shows you that Justin knows what's going on, sort of, but he just can't get a full grip of recollecting himself or just collecting himself back up again. It's pretty emotional, that bit as well. But I did like how Pat was able to get through to Justin for a bit at least, hinting at his past in the times of King Arthur and Camelot, and he reveals his story about getting to Blue Valley. He was tracking and following a dragon, and that of course being Dragon King, revealing he was captured, and that his identity along with memories were taken, which is possibly similar to the drones. It could be why he saw himself as a drone in the mirror, and even with the whole identity thing, could be similar to people like Bobby Berman, Cindy's second or third stepmother, who of course couldn't be identified by Dr. Midnight's goggles, so it could be similar to that whole situation there. Now, one of the lines which I loved in this episode, which resonates so much with not just Stargirl as a show, but Stargirl as a character, and that's when Justin tells Pat that heroes can come from anywhere. I thought that was a really important quote and just line in this episode. This episode was written by Jeff Johns, so I think that's why a lot of this stuff is really good in this episode. But I love that line. It just resonates so much with not just Stargirl as a show, but her as a character, and also just the other characters on the show as well. I thought it was just really good. But of course, we're heading into the end of the season, so you'd expect some stuff with the villains. So we have Henry Sr. meeting with Jordan McKent at the American Dream, and he actually reveals to Jordan that Courtney is Stargirl. Shocking Jordan. He's like, what? He's in disbelief. He can't believe it. Now, it was sort of funny having Henry finding it a bit very curious that Jordan is sort of second guessing things over the feelings of Barbara when Henry has just killed his own son as well as his wife previously, just to sort of go along with Jordan's plans and help Jordan's plans. Now, Henry Sr. is feeling more powerful after the death of his son. The ISA plan increasing from 6 states to half the country. That's what he's saying that's going to happen. We actually see sort of like a image of that later in the episode. So that's sort of the thing where it sort of doubles down on the fact that Henry's dead. But who knows? We might get a shock reveal that Henry's alive. Or Henry Jr. is alive. We'll have to wait until the end of the season, I guess. Or yeah, I guess one of the two. But we also have Jordan going on Barbara's computer with the help of the gambler and seeing what she knows. So yeah, Jordan's like full on in on, okay, well, everything's out there now. I'm going to have to sort of cover my tracks now so the plan doesn't falter. But we did have Sam and Courtney getting to know each other. Now, Sam's pretty much winning over Courtney. Takes a bit, but he eventually gets there. And, Courtney believes his act. But of course, we know that Courtney tries to see the good in people most of the time, so it's believable that she would go down that route and believe him. Now, Jeff Stoltz is the actor who played Sam in this episode, and I think he was a really good casting choice for this small, he's a small part in this episode, but a very important role in the show as well, which then leads into the big moment in the episode, in my opinion, which we'll get into in a second, but I think they just casted him really well. They needed a strong actor and believable actor that could play that cunning sort of make Courtney come onto his side, but then also you just believe that he's an asshole and he's a bit of a scumbag. So I think they casted that character really well. But yeah, this all leads into Sam bringing up that he wants Courtney's locket in order to put a deposit down on a place that she could potentially visit in LA and stuff like that. Which obviously should have rang the alarm bells for most of us saying, BS alert, don't believe that at all. And just through him explaining this and trying to pitch to Courtney this idea, you can see it's breaking Courtney's heart. You can just tell. I think Breck Bassinger, who plays Courtney, did a really good job in that scene without even having to say anything. You just see it in her eyes and everything like that. And her taking off the locket and giving it to Sam was almost symbolic of her breaking free of her father and moving on from that side of her past. I just think that was really well done. And the comic does it in a fairly decent way, but I think the show did it in an even better way. And it's the exact same moment, but I think the show does it really, really well. And that whole symbolism, if you want to call it, gets doubled down on as soon as Sam leaves. He just leaves without even he's just like, oh, thanks lockets, laters, goodbye. And Courtney doesn't even say dad. She just says Sam when he's leaving. So that's like sort of another instance of her just like sort of breaking free of him being her actual father. But it's doubled down on when Courtney goes inside and hugs Pat as soon as she goes inside, embracing him as her father. It's not father by blood or anything like that, but Pat's her father. Pat's her father now. I thought that was just super emotional and something I think a good amount of people could connect with. Maybe not personally. Maybe if you don't connect with it in a personal way, like, it's very similar to something that happened in your life or even like a loved one, but it's something you can at least sympathize with at the very least. I think you just did a really good job in regards to all of that. But obviously, we're not sitting there going like, oh my God, Sam got away with everything, because Pat goes after Sam and gives him the old knuckle sandwich. So go, Pat. We stand Pat in this household. I feel like an idiot saying that, but I think that's a relevant time to say that. So go, Pat. We are all team Pat. Go, Pat. But one of the more, I want to say twisted is a good word to use, but twisted, more menacing things was Henry King Sr. at his own son's service or memorial service at school. And he reveals to Courtney through telepathy that he has his memories back. He remembers everything. Of course, that including the fact that he knows that Courtney Whitmore is Stargirl. Courtney's reaction was like, oh crap, that's not good. And yeah, Courtney, it's not good. At least he doesn't know that Yolanda's Wildcat and everything like that, but for Courtney's sake, it's not good. But speaking of Courtney, she's been trying to use the staff ever since this whole revelation about Sam Curtis being her actual father. It's not working for her. It spreads to a panic following the reveal that Brainwave remembers who she is. Now, Courtney believes it's not working for her because the staff knows that she isn't Starman's daughter, but the staff would have known that the entire time. It just needs Courtney to believe in herself again, just like it believed in Courtney initially. That scene where she picks it up again and it starts to glow is very much like episode 1. They even use some of the same shots, or at least some of the same things that happened to Courtney, like the sort of a hair blowing back and everything like that. I thought it was really good that they sort of threw back to that episode. But of course, we have Pat and Barbara in tow, making it sort of like a family thing, which I thought was really, really nice. And even just the fact that Pat and Barbara would believe in Courtney, so she's got to believe in herself as well. But to me, and some of you might disagree with this, which is fine. To me, that moment is the moment that she officially becomes Stargirl. I think that's where she's officially Stargirl. Obviously, she's referred to herself as Stargirl in previous episodes and stuff, but I think that's the moment she officially becomes the character and just the mantle of Stargirl. She's not living up to, her quote-unquote father's legacy. She's living up to her legacy. Her legacy is Stargirl. And then, of course, we have Justin coming down to the basement when all this is going on, saying that their queen has now risen. And yes, she has, Justin. Yes, she has. Stargirl is here. And, Stargirl's risen. But we end the episode off with pretty much setting up the last 2 episodes. We have the ISA's plan growing on the map. Obviously, it was referred to earlier in the episode in regards to how they're now targeting half the country. We see that on the map. We actually get to see a visual representation of it. And we actually do find out that there's now just under 13 hours to go until it all begins. And, that time should go fairly fast. But, of course, also Jordan or Icicle's like, yeah, let's just get rid of the Whitmores and the Dugans. And don't forget Mike, because they're all going to die. So the Whitmore and Dugan household is the target for the ISA. First off, at least. So I think we should get something like that at the beginning of next episode. So hopefully someone with some sort of technical fighting ability is there. Courtney with the staff or something. Hopefully someone's there. But yeah, overall for this episode, I think it just did a great job. I think it's just another great episode of Stargirl. I feel like I'm saying that every single week, but it is. Like, obviously there was like no action in this episode, but I think it did everything it needed to do, and it marked like really high in regards to everything it tried to do. Set up the last 2 episodes, did some stuff with Shining Knight, did a lot with Courtney in regards to her just her past and moving forward, and just embracing herself as this character of Stargirl, that she is Stargirl. She's not living up to anyone's legacy or anyone's expectations. I think the episode just did a really good job. I really have no negatives with it, to be completely honest. I have no negatives. I just really enjoyed it, and I think they're nailing, especially these last handful of episodes moving into this finale, that I think they're just killing it. I can't wait to see how they finish off this season. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and just show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions, thoughts, theories, anything like that with the episode and moving forward into these last 2 episodes as well. Intrigued to see what you guys have to say. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.